Good evening, class. Welcome back to our Flip Classroom website once again. Hopefully you guys are starting to get the hang of these lessons and using them at home and coming prepared to class the next day. Um, if you guys are still confused, seriously, please let me know so I can help you guys out in any way that I can. I'm trying to make this as easy as possible for both you and I. But if I'm confusing you guys at all, or if you guys aren't liking these lessons, please let me know and I can try and work something out with you guys so that we can both feel comfortable about what's going on and everything like that, okay? But tonight we are going to talk about themes and symbols that are presented in our novel, The Great Gatsby. Make sure that you guys take notes and write down any questions that you might have so that we can discuss them tomorrow in class before we start the activity. And take good notes. You never know if it's going to be on a quiz or a test in your future. Hint, hint, cough, cough. So we will start off the night with themes first. Two themes that are presented in The Great Gatsby are the decline of the American dream and the insincerity of the upper class. Now, in The Great Gatsby, Fitzgerald portrays the roaring 1920s as more of a decaying era filled with social and moral values. And the parties that Gatsby threw at his mansion each Saturday night and had invited thousands of people from the eggs, I should say, to his house ended in the corruption of the American dream. The rise of the stock market had also an effect on it as well after World War One. That led to a rapid increase in national wealth and materialism as people began to spend and consume at a variation of levels. The Prohibition period as well also had a huge impact on it in 1919, and it created an underworld of speakeasy bars and young Americans who were satisfied more with the bootleg liquor that was being provided for them. Um, and so the American dream was originally supposed to be about discovery and the pursuit of happiness and finding yourself and individualism. But it turned out to be about money and social values and parties on the East Coast. So in the end, in the novel, they lost the sight of what truly the American dream was supposed to be about, and it ended in all the wrong ways that it was supposed to. The second theme that comes about in the novel is the insincerity of the upper class. The rich in or excuse me, the wealthy characters in The Great Gatsby are rude and vulgar and they lack grace, truthfully. For example, Gatsby's funeral, instead of the Buchanans attending the funeral, they decide to leave and move to another property far away, like I had discussed in the second lesson that we did a few days ago. Gatsby's qualities such as love and loyalty led to his death, whereas the Buchanan's qualities of being selfish and dishonest just allowed them to be able to check out of the drama psychologically and physically. And we'll see that you'll realize it more once the novel has ended. If you go back and think about it, you probably think like, wow, totally right. Like it really seemed like they were coming off innocent and naive, but truly in the end, this is how they really are. And this novel brought that about in a lot of the characters. And then, like I said in the beginning of the lecture, make sure that you jot down any questions you may have that I can answer for you tomorrow during class, okay, guys? And then let's move on to symbols. Within the novel, there are three huge symbols that are present in the novel: the green light, the Valley of Ashes, and the eyes of Dr. T.J. Eckelberg. I want you guys to pause this video and think of some abstract ideas of what those symbols could represent in the novel for a minute, and then press play again. I want you guys to really think hard, like a green light, Valley of Ashes, eyes of Dr. T.J. Eckelberg. We've read this novel so far, pretty far. Now you guys can kind of get an idea of what they really are about. So go ahead, press pause, and then start again once you guys have a little bit of some abstract thoughts, okay? Okay, but now in the novel, the green light is a physical light that sits at the end of Daisy Buchanan's dock and is just barely visible for Gatsby to see from his mansion. Gatsby associates the green light to reaching towards the darkness and the light guiding him through it to his goal. Nick associates the light with America, rising out of the water, and how her early settlers must have looked at when they arrived. Um, and as far as Gatsby, I had said in the first lecture that we had that he's one of those characters that if he wants something, he will go and get it. Um, and that's kind of how he is in as far as the green light goes. I mean, in one of the chapters, he physically reaches towards the light, but he can't get it because it's so far away, and he has so many obstacles to go over it to be able to retrieve it. Um, and then we have the Valley of Ashes, which was first introduced to us in chapter 2. And the Valley of Ashes is between West Egg and New York City. And in the novel, it represents the moral and social decay that is the result of the pursuit of wealth and how the rich indulge themselves in their own riches. Uh, it also represents the lower class, like Myrtle Wilson's husband, George, who lives within the valley. And I mean, Fitzgerald put so much detail into this, so you can actually have imagery of just dunes of ashes and dust and just kind of like coal, like black, all over these, like the characters who work there and how Myrtle and her husband George live. And it really represents it in the novel. And then the last symbol is the eyes of Dr. T.J. Eckelberg that are on the billboard, and they are also on the front cover of The Great Gatsby. Um, so I also want you guys to look at that as well once we're done with the lecture and kind of think of some more ideas. And I kind of want your thoughts as well on what you really thought the the front cover of the novel was supposed to be. Truthfully, when I was in high school, I thought it kind of looked like carnival for some reason. It kind of looked like there was a Ferris wheel on there, and I didn't know why there was like some like eyes on there. I was really confused. But then I read the novel and I began to understand. So I want you guys to kind of do the same thing. I want your thoughts of what you thought the front cover was supposed to be. Um, but in the novel, the eyes of Dr. T.J. Eckelberg um, is in the Valley of Ashes, actually. And in the story, these eyes represent God staring upon the American society and judging it for everything that it is. So it's kind of like it sees everything that happens in this novel. And I mean, if you just like look at the billboard, it's just kind of like it's seeing just right through for what you really are. Has very powerful impact on the American society in this novel. So just pay real close attention to that. And then just keep the abstract ideas that you guys had thought about before we discuss the symbols in this class, just because I want to hear some of them tomorrow when we're having our classroom discussion, along with what you thought the front cover of the novel was supposed to be. I'm very interested in hearing about those just to see if you guys had kind of the same idea I did when I was a student in high school. But remember, if you guys have any questions, just email me or you can call the school phone and I will receive your messages in the morning. Um, if you need to, remember, listen to this lecture as many times as you want, but if you need anything else, let me know. I hope you guys have a great night.